And welcome back to the program. Our next guest says if you can just think like a hacker, you can actually protect yourself and your business. Let's find out what he means. Jeremy Dodson is here. He's a cybersecurity expert and co-founder of Piqued Solutions, helping businesses stay ahead of evolving threats. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me, Mark.
When you say think like a hacker, I'm thinking all of bad things. Do you want me to launch a ransomware or a cyber attack, or what are you talking about when you say think like a hacker?
It is almost that. I want you to do all of the bad things that you can to your own environment before an attacker actually does, right? We want to make sure that we've put our environment through all the testing it can. We want to understand where all the problems are. Think the Velociraptor in Jurassic Park, the hole in the gate. We want to cover that up before they get out, right? And so by thinking like an attacker, understanding where we're vulnerable, we're able to enhance the security of our environment much better than if we just wait to react to an attack.
Essentially, and correct me if I'm wrong, essentially you want each person to be their own white hat hacker.
Yes, definitely. I want them to understand, we call them cybersecurity champions. They should be questioning everything. Curiosity is key here, right? We want them to be curious about a decision that's being made within the organization so that they can help steer away from problems or away from things that might be risky because they're seeing it early on before it bubbles up into a problem.
But can I be honest, the IT guys are really kind of inaccessible. Sometimes I feel like they think I'm super dumb, which I really don't know a lot about cybersecurity. How are you supposed to ask questions and be curious when it's not really, it's above your pay grade? It's not your department. You're intimidated by the IT guys.
So it's typically the other way around, and so I'm glad you said it that way, because what I want to try to accomplish with organizations is I want the communication both from the top and from the bottom. So I usually will call this policy down to code. The individuals that are touching the code, that are understanding what's happening in your environment, they should be empowered to speak up when they see something wrong. And the individuals at top should be asking questions instead of assuming everything is correct, because they've got to understand that when a CEO walks around and asks how things are going, most people are just going to say, it's going great. Yep, exactly.
So what inspired you to co-found Piqued Solutions? You've piqued my curiosity.
Well, so piqued has two meanings, and most people don't know this. Everyone knows the piqued, the curiosity, but the part that really I love is the frustration or the piqued frustration. It is the things that annoy us enough to get us going.
Like when my phone doesn't work.
Correct. And the idea behind this is everything I've ever learned and everything I've ever endeavored to learn, I've realized first my curiosity was piqued about it. And then as I'm pulling that information in, I end up getting to this point of frustration where you have the Dunning-Kruger effect. Everything I think I know more than I do, and I eventually find out I really don't. And most people at that point leave that topic. And I have always found when you stay within that frustration, when you allow your frustration to be piqued, you then start to master what you are first were curious about. And this is very, very vital for organizations and for leaderships to think that way.
You know, I often have thought that my curiosity helps me become a better journalist. You know, for 25 years I was on air, and I would ask constant questions.
Yeah.
But you almost feel empowered to do so in your role as a journalist. That's your job. You're kind of saying it's everybody's job to be curious and ask questions about cyber.
Correct. Yeah, if you think about cyber as, even if you don't understand it, some of the best problems that have been solved all started with someone asking a question that even I didn't think about and or specialists like me didn't think about because they know something about their environment we don't. I often will tell people when I go to a warehouse that's full of tons of equipment I don't understand, I will never know more than that individual running that equipment about that equipment than that person. But conversely, they will never know more about security than I do, and we need to marry those two together.
True. Let me ask you about some companies that have been in the news lately for cyber breaches and ransomware, et cetera. Can you just give me 2 or 3 tips, ways to cover security gaps to make sure it doesn't happen to other companies? I keep opening the newspaper or reading the news, and I see this ransomware attack, this cyber breach. I get the free credit monitoring in the mail.
Correct.
What are some tips that companies can use right now to close the gaps?
Yeah, I would say right now, the thing is to not rely on your team or your people to be the first line of defense. You should expect someone to click a link. You should expect something bad to happen in your environment.
So one of your employees opens an attachment, clicks a bad link, they just get duped.
Correct. It's going to happen. So therefore, what you need to do is you need to mitigate that or stop it from spreading from that point forward. You need to make sure that the damage is as little as possible to your environment because you know that it's going to happen, instead of investing so much in trying to stop it from happening and not having a plan for when it does.
I've got 45 seconds left. Let me flip this around. Let's say I don't care about my company, I care about me. What am I supposed to do to protect my bank account, my information on my computer at home? Do I need a VPN? Do I need to change my router? What am I supposed to do?
Fantastic question. So what you should be doing is you should be practicing good password hygiene. Easiest thing that I see all the time is people reuse passwords, the same password for their bank
Guilty.
as it is for their email, right? That's the number one thing you can do. From that point, it's making decisions as far as where your devices are and understanding what they're exposed to. So if you go to a coffee shop with your laptop, don't walk away from it.
Seems like common sense, but everybody does it or the hackers wouldn't be winning.
Correct.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for the tips. Jeremy Dodson, thank you so much. Co-founder of Piqued Solutions. You are my new best friend on speed dial when I have cyber issues.
Thank you, Mike.
Appreciate it. And we'll be right back.